Squirrels! So hello, and welcome to another Legends of Runeterra video. My name is Chris, and today we'll be playing card games R-E-Z. Be interested to see if you can guess what champions they are. Of course, Ezreal is one of them, the easy, and the card games, of course, comes from Twisted Fate. And this is a deck that I think you will be seeing, this concept, Twisted Fate Ezreal. The exact deck could change and will likely change based on the meta state and what is in the meta, but this kind of concept and idea I think will be very, very strong going forward. And the dev said in the recent patch update that they are monitoring Ezreal, but his win rate had gone down recently, so they thought, well, let's see how it plays out. But his win rate had gone down because Burn essentially stomps Ezreal decks, because as they just, get more and more units and targeting their units, stuff like Legion Grenadier, it doesn't matter if it dies, use Cast Salesman, it's got its value, and that Burn deck basically is the ultimate counter to any Ezreal deck, because they don't really care if their units die that much, because they've kind of already done their damage to the face normally when they come down to the board, and that's very difficult for Ezreal to deal with. But Burn got nerfed, as many people will know and care about, and that means that Ezreal Twisted Fate is in a potentially very good place, because Burn limited a lot of what you could play. Shadow Isles was pushed up a lot, and anything that said Drain or Heal was pushed up, because Burn, again, didn't really care about the board that much. It was just all about going face, and we hadn't really seen a deck like that succeed in Runeterra before that. So it was a bit different for everyone, and it kind of limited what decks could be played. But now that Burn has significantly been nerfed, with Bukaruki and Legion Rearguard both getting a nerf, I'm not saying the deck is going to be bad. It probably still will be pretty good, but it's not going to be meta-defining like it was, and that means that slower strategies can potentially come into play. And normally you would think that a slower strategy means that control now, with aggregating worse control, is going to get better. That's actually incorrect. Control was doing well because Burn was good, because control things, anything Shadow Isles control had drain effects that could keep it alive and potentially win the game. Whereas things like Ezreal that didn't have the drain essentially lost that deck every time, and obviously you can't play a deck that loses all the time to one of the most popular decks on the ladder, especially because it's so cheap to craft. But now that it is gone, Ezreal, Twisted Fate, this I think could be a very, very, very strong deck indeed. So let's run you through the cards. Well, we start off with 3 Thermogenic Beams, very important card for Ezreal. You will see pretty much a 3 of this card in pretty much every Ezreal deck, I think, just because it's a very good removal card. Obviously gets a target for Ezreal as well, and yeah, it's just a very solid card all around. Parlay, kind of going off that. If we do find ourselves in an aggro matchup, obviously we don't have any 1-mana units, but now pretty much everything apart from Cythria and Jagged Butcher, I think, are the only things that Parlay won't kill on turn 1, and obviously that's, at that point you're looking at specifically niche, like only a couple cards, and it's not like Cythria or, Jagged Butcher is a good card, Cythria is a fine card, but it's not like they're super, super powerful. And so, Parlay on turn 1 often will, 1, give us a target, 2, give us some damage on the Nexus, and that can be important for Ezreal decks as well, because normally it can be quite difficult to get a opponent down from say like 20 health, but if you can get them to about 15, 14, normally Ezreal from there can finish the game for you. So we do need some damage, and Parlay will do that for us, and it's a target. Rummage, obviously once we get Ezreal going, Rummage can be a very important card, as it's obviously burst speed, and it will draw us potentially to other cards that we can then use with Ezreal, rather than, we can get rid of our units and get some spells instead. Black Market Merchant, and as I say, this deck can be teched a lot of different ways. I personally have gone for the Pilfered Goods, steal from your opponent's deck. I understand that people don't like that, but it's quite fun to play. It's just not fun to play against. I personally have gone with it, just because I think it is Bilgewater's strongest suit and strongest area at the moment, and I think that is something that we can take advantage of, and obviously it can help us again in more aggressive matchups, potentially stealing their low units to potentially block for us. I think that can be quite impactful as well. Dreadweight Deckhand, obviously, it's just kind of a solid card. It creates the keg for us, and obviously we are playing a lot of spells that target opponent units, and a lot of these spells, you know, will do stuff where the keg will explode. And so it gives us extra value there, and again, a decent early blocker. Speaking of those spells, Make It Rain, and Make It Rain is crucial. And this is probably why I think Bilgewater is Ezreal's best friend right now, is simply this card. It now says it. They changed the text. Before it didn't say it, and people were surprised when this was found out. But it is randomly targeted enemies, and so this will count as 3 targets if it, you know, randomly assaults to 3 units on the board. And so if you've played 2 of them, you're already at 6 of 8. Make It Rain will do 3/8 of Ezreal's level up. That's extremely valuable on a 2-mana card for Ezreal. And like, you will often see 3 stack shocks in Ezreal decks because it targets 2 things. To target potentially 3 is very, very strong for 2 mana in an Ezreal deck. And obviously once Ezreal's leveled up, it can be 1 extra damage on the Nexus as well. Mystic Shot, again, I don't need to explain. Pilfer Goods, same as Black Market Merchant. Again, it's going to give us more options potentially. It's more card draw. It works with Twisted Fate, of course. Ezreal himself, we don't need to go into. Get Excited, similar. You're always going to see these cards. It's only a 2-off because often there isn't too many cards that we would probably want to discard in this deck, and this is, you know, normally going to be extra burn finisher for this kind of deck in Ezreal. So it's basically a 2-off because of the discard, and it costs a bit more than, say, Mystic Shot. Chump Wump is very good in any Ezreal deck. Again, another sort of auto-include in any Ezreal deck, and that's because he creates 2 Mushroom Clouds. And you might think, well, there's no Mushroom synergy here, but it's essentially once Ezreal is leveled up, we can play these, and it's essentially 4 damage to the Nexus, and obviously potential damage later on down the line as well, although normally we'll be finishing the game. And the 2 mushrooms are good discard targets for Rummage and Get Excited. Gotcha, again, it's just solid. I think people were a bit slow to this card, but then figured out, you know, it's kind of a in Karina Control for a reason. Karina Control, you know, runs a lot of strong cards, and Gotcha got in there because essentially it's quite a strong card, and you know, we are drawing somewhat with, you know, Static Shock and Rummage and such. So we do have some draw, or Twisted Fate's blue card, of course, and so it can often cost 2, and a 2-mana deal 3/2 unit is really valuable. Static Shock, I've already mentioned, goes really well with the keg, of course, from what's she called? What is she called? Dreadweight Deckhand. Obviously, because then it'll do 2 to each and still draw the 1. Very powerful. Twisted Fate also goes well with the keg and is just really strong. And people figured this out, that he is really, really strong and really fun to play with. Zap Spray Fin will give us both spell mana, which could be pretty useful. It's a body. It's an elusive to give us some damage potentially. I talked about how it might be difficult to get down from 20, but you know, around the 15, 14 to 10 range is normally where you're good with Ezreal. And so being elusive allows us, you know, to probably attack. And it's going to draw as a card for Twisted Fate. It's going to draw as a spell. That's probably going to be pretty useful for our needs as well. And I like personally running 1 Riptide Rex. If you don't have your targets already, this is targeted enemy, so Riptide Rex will pretty much guarantee that Ezreal levels up. But aside from that, he's just a really strong card. Again, he does everything that we kind of want. That extra damage to the Nexus. A potential board wipe as well. And this is why stuff like the one-off parlay can be useful to potentially get the plunder, as we do need it for stuff like Black Market Merchant and Pilfered Goods as well. So that's the deck. I do think this will be a very, very strong deck going forward. If you want to know how to counter this deck, play an aggro deck, because it will struggle if you continuously develop units onto the board. There isn't much you can do against that. But that's by the by. Let's get into some games. Alright, we're playing against Ashe in a Freljord Noxus deck. See, Ashe, when was the last time you saw Ashe in a deck? Well, here she is. We'll keep the Thermo Beam. Gotcha, obviously we'd prefer to probably draw later on and have it cost 2. Twisted Fate is fine. In any match where, you know, they aren't a full aggro deck, I don't mind keeping Twisted Fate just because of his versatility. Obviously, he's going to probably give us anything we need. Now, with Make It Rain, if they do drop an Omen Hawk, normally I would Thermo Beam this to get the target, but with Make It Rain, I feel less inclined to do so, as we know that it's likely to die to a Make It Rain. And when likely, I say almost, you know, 100%. And so we go to turn 2. There is the gotcha. So if he drops something now, what could he drop on turn 2? There isn't too much there. Avaros and Sentry maybe. Well, I mean, does it get more obvious than that? I don't need to really explain that play, I think. You know, we're going to make the use of our gotcha. This is a great prime target that it's been buffed up as well. Gets the Ezreal, one condition also. And now what I think we may do, so we could do a couple things here. You know what? He has Omen Hawk, so if he's drawn not the spell, then this could be a potentially, you know, if we can get the buffed up unit, obviously, which is a problem, by the way. I don't condone that behavior, but it can be pretty impactful. We don't. We get a Culling Strike. I mean, that could be useful. Oh, I should have attacked that. That was a mistake, by the way. I should have attacked. He might have blocked. Maybe I shouldn't have attacked. So depending on what he plays now, he might just drag this. Yep. He might also Frostbite. In which case I think this is probably about as good a Culling Strike target. Ooh. He might have something like a... Well, he might have a lot of things, to be honest. But he could have Plunder Enablers, the Shared Spoils card. And so, you know, not allowing him to enable that could be quite important. He's happy to pass it back to us. We could probably go for an open attack here and then Pilfered Goods again. I don't really need to explain too much. Okay, so he Brittle Steals. That's interesting. It's fine, but it's interesting. Ooh. That's a bit scary. A 6/6 there. So what I might do now that he's buffed it up is I could obviously do 2. I think I'm going to go for it. I think I am going to go for the Pilfered Goods. I think that's our best option. Now if you go for the gold card it will target, but this obviously is just an AoE damage, so it doesn't target. But it does one to the Nexus and it gives us this. And that's going to give us 2 units. 2 pretty decent units if you ask me. So I'm quite okay with that. Now if he develops next turn, we know we've got we know he's playing Trifarian Assessor of course as well now, which is helpful as well. So we potentially could level up our Twisted Fate here even with that. Now he's probably looking to kill Twisted Fate here with you. So I am just going to Frostbite you. I don't mind chump blocking here. Because then it sets up a nice stacked shock potentially. There's an Omen Hawk. Do I really want to do anything now? Not really. Will he attack? He probably will. You never know, he could still have a way to kill this. Will he attack? Maybe that was a mistake. Maybe I should have gone for this first. What's Twisted Fate on? 3 of 8. Okay, he attacks with the Omen Hawk. Okay, he will attack with that. I'm kind of fine taking that block there. Brittle Steel, okay. That's fine as well. And that just shows us that it was important to do this. I think what I'll do now is just get rid of this Get Excited potentially. I'll probably use the Thermo Beam now. I think this is probably about as good as we're going to get it on this Rimefang Wolf. So, Twisted Fate is on 3. We're going to draw, what, 4 this turn, which means we just need 1 more. There's a Rummage. So we can get it pretty easy. And luckily Riptide Rex was our other one there. So we can just level up Twisted Fate now if we really wanted to. Which I'm kind of inclined to do, I won't lie. Am I? Would I rather just do you first? No, I kind of just want to level him up now, I think. Because now we're going to see the strength of this card, and it's going to go wild, my friends. We are really going to go a bit wild here now. We are running out of time. I'm not a massive fan how it takes that away from you. Now with the keg, we give ourselves extra leverage. Static Shock can now deal 2 to any enemy. Let's get excited as well. If he's still not going to do anything, I'm pretty happy playing this, I think. It's going to deal 1, of course, to everything here. Oh, 2, sorry, of course. Of course, that's going to deal 2 with the keg. Well, that's still fine, I think. We are, of course, not going to attack with our friend Twisted Fate. Of course, it's very likely he has a Frostbite. If he blocks one of these, that's fine as well. That's also fine. This is going to die next turn anyway. So honestly, it doesn't even matter. Nothing really matters. Preferring Glory Seeker is also fine. We can just wait at this point, I think. As Twisted Fate is probably just going to go off at this point. Again, doesn't really matter that much. Let's use Static Shock, I guess. Yeah, nothing really matters. That's essentially the point where you get to where it's just like, I can't think of Noxian Fervor maybe is their best out at this point. Not anymore, it's not. Twisted Fate will continue to draw cards. Our Ezreal is up to 6 of 8. And I mean, again, we'll just go for sort of not even proactive play. That's going to deal 2 again to all enemies. I mean, we can just kill you before next turn even. Deal 2 to you.
Hold it, partner.
Hold it, partner, indeed. So now he's down on 7. There is literally 0 cards that can save him. We've got what, 4 set? We got 8 damage, 1,000,000 damage in hand. It's extra Twisted Fate. And we just obliterated. And I think that this could be a common thing because, as I say, this is what happens when you get set up with this deck. It's not a pretty sight for your opponent, I'll tell you that much. But this could be a very, very strong deck going forward, and I'm glad that, you know, we get to see it. So Fizz Sejuani. Now this could be that Battle Fury deck that Swim was playing the other day, which is, you know, decently strong. Fizz is obviously a problem card because he does not like being targeted. They also run Starlit Seer. I would have to expect that it is that deck, so this is probably, I would say that this is probably as tough a matchup as you can get. Now, if he does have Fizz in hand, he should never play Fizz here. That's a massive mistake. Right here, that's probably the biggest mistake he could have made, because, I mean, we don't have the punish, unfortunately, but if we had Thermo Beam, it's just such a big mistake, and I'm playing Ezreal, so you know I'm playing Thermo Beam. But Fizz is a real problem. A real problem. He's probably a bigger problem, to be fair, but yeah, the Starlit Seer is probably a bigger problem, I won't lie.
Be nothing left when I'm
done. I'm not too worried about 2-1 Fizz. We actually might want to keep this Fizz alive, because the whole point of this deck is to buff up a Fizz to kind of ridiculous levels. Do I attack? No. No, we don't attack. I don't really want to pass though either. I mean, it's likely he's on Elixir of Iron, right? I think we just have to go for it. Okay, it actually died. Wow. That's a shock. That's not something I expected. I'm fine to pass. Again, I don't mind if this Fizz, you know, lives forever. I mean, Ezreal technically is kind of a counter to it. And we do have Zap as well. So there's a warning shot. And as I say, this Fizz isn't a problem. Can't say no to Fizz. So we'll play our own Zap. And now that he doesn't have a Starlit Seer on the board, I feel more comfortable. I feel more comfortable in blocking this Fizz. So I kind of want to keep this Zap alive. See, now if he had an Elixir of Iron, that would mean that's what he drew, because he definitely would have used it on the Starlit Seer, you would have thought. Pocket Aces. That's kind of fine. That is kind of a surprise. It's kind of fine as well, I think. So now what we can probably do is go in for Parlay on you. We could have gone for Gangplank there, but I kind of want a Black Market Merchant this time. So up to 3 of 8. Sejuani obviously is a bit of a problem, but if he does play Sejuani, that means that we could Twisted Fate that and stun him, of course.
Destruction feeds
Ember Maiden. Ember Maiden? Really? Okay, we got a free warning shot. Well, that's a plunder for our Riptide Rex if we ever need it. Ember Maiden with Fizz. Now this is something that I don't understand. Plunder Enabler? I guess? But it kills your Fizz. And you're not close to leveling Fizz up. Like, I'm fine with it. If you want to kill Fizz, you kill Fizz. Yeah, this one is odd. Yeah, you kill Fizz. Go ahead. Kill anything. You go for it. So you could see Sejuani now, and obviously now is the perfect time for a Twisted Fate. He's happy to end the round. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I can Static Shock. I think that's fine as well. Thermo Beam, don't mind that.
Fire knows its own.
Second Ember Maiden. So now that we know there's no Sejuani, probably go for Twisted Fate. He could have a whole bunch of things, right? Fury of the North, Elixir of Iron, we've seen he probably doesn't have, but he could have a lot of things. Obviously he's threatening our whole board, so I'm not a fan of that. Because if this goes off, he's kind of in a bit of trouble unless he's got third Ember Maiden. Like now you would think he has to respond. He could have Make It Rain as well, which obviously could deal some damage to us. Just Entreat. Okay, so that could be Sejuani, of course. That could just be Fizz. There is another Fizz. Again, I have no desire or reason to really target this Fizz. He wants to attack me.
Clear off.
Okay. That's a very strange attack. I don't really get that attack at all. Okay. That's fine. So now unless he's got Warning Shot and we've got one of them, we can kill his Fizz. I would guess that this is Sejuani, so he doesn't have Warning Shot either. And we know that this came from this side of the hand, so I'm pretty sure it's not that either. But one turn off you. Kind of like dealing the damage now. So he's down on 11. Now our main issue here would be Sejuani into something like Battle Fury. Obviously it's a very, 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 very specific example. We can go for Ezreal there. And now, hopefully go into Riptide Rex.
Bristle, attack!
See, I'm actually more scared of a Battle Fury, and I don't think he's got 5 damage in hand, so I'm actually going to take that. And then just do this. And that's going to level up Ezreal as well. And potentially give us a massive, massive boost to this game. Not blocking there seems weird, and I know it will seem weird, particularly potentially newer players, but it's very, very important that we don't block there, because if we give them the chance to respond with a Battle Fury, which is the card that gives something 8-4, then we automatically lose. Whereas if we just wait, we're still in a very good situation. Now, of course, he's got his as well. We just need to check how many are coming at Ezreal here. There seems to be enough. So let's just check. So everything but the Black Market Merchant is dying. Oh, this is another Ezreal. So we're still fine, pretty much. I mean, we go down to 4. So yeah, we're still good. And we can just play Ezreal next turn and win. We're still fine. Honestly, that could have RNG'd us out of the game, of course. If that just targeted all one unit, we would have actually lost. There's Rummage that pretty much settles it.
Let's see all of it.
Yeah. Woo! So there you go. That's kind of the strength. He played it a bit weirdly. I'm not sure about Ember Maiden. I get it for the Plunder effect, but other than that, I'm not really sure what he's trying to do with that deck. But very important that you see where the strength of this deck lies, where how this deck can play in different matchups and win in those different matchups. Fizz is actually a problem for this deck, because of course targeting stuff is a problem, and so if he should have probably recognized that Fizz is his win con, save Fizz at all costs, buff Fizz up as much as we can, and that's how you can win the game against this kind of deck. And if you do want to beat this deck, like if you're not a big Ezreal fan, and I'm not the biggest Ezreal fan by any means, but I do think his ability is quite cool, and it's something that you have to work for, right? It's not like just like Unyielding Spirit, you know, that it's done, or like Karma, where it's just, oh, it's level 10, well done, round 10 even. You know, you do have to work for Ezreal, and so therefore I find his payoff a bit less aggravating from the other stance of it, I guess. But Fizz is a very, very good counter to that. So that's the deck. As you can see, I think it's a lot of fun. I love Riptide Rex as well as a one-of in this deck. I think, you know, as you saw there, he essentially will level up Ezreal no matter what if you haven't at that point in the game, and it's a very strong swing as well. So I think a one-of is probably about right. But I'm sure that this deck will see all sort of tweaks. There's a lot of different options for this deck and a lot of different spells you can include. But that is going to be it for today. My name is Chris. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. What's your next deck that you're going to be playing after this patch? Now that Burn is dead. Not dead, but you know, is not going to be everywhere. Because I've got a whole host of ideas now of things that are actually viable that were not once upon a time. So look forward to that, and I'll see you next time.